Welcome to the Hollywood Persona Podcast. Here are your hosts, Mitch and Ant.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Hollywood Persona Podcast, episode 67, where I, Mitch, and my friend Ant are going to review Alien Romulus, along with a couple other movies. We're just some Caligula we're going to talk about. I bet you no one expected that. But Ant got to go see the studio, the unrated... Ultimate Cut that was released at Sundance last year. And I was able to see a little bit of it, kind of see what the movie's like. So we're going to talk about that. And then he's going to talk about the new movie Skincare, and that is starring, what's her name?
Elizabeth Banks. And I kept thinking it was another blonde, beautiful woman, but it's Elizabeth Banks. Who did Don't Worry, Darling?
Florence Pugh.
No, who directed it?
Oh, is that Edgar Wright?
No, it's a girl.
No. Yeah, Elizabeth Banks directed it. No.
Did she? No, it can't be. No, Olivia Wilde.
Olivia Wilde. She directed that?
Yeah. So she's, and you can see why I would confuse her for Elizabeth Banks.
Really? I don't think Olivia Wilde is blonde.
No?
I'll just give it to you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess we don't need to stall out early on, but I see them as the same almost. They're like both. She's definitely.
And they
been
both
blonde.
direct.
She's definitely been blonde, and they both direct, and they're both beautiful Hollywood women.
Yeah, that's true.
You're right. She's mostly brunette, but I've seen her as a blonde.
Yeah, I know. And she was dating or married to Sudeikis there for a while.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about a couple. It's going to be a smaller episode here, but we got a box office. Ant's going to bring us some box office numbers, and let's see how Alien's doing. Did it finally knock Deadpool and Wolverine out of that top spot? I'm asking you. This
no.
is an intro, a lead-in.
Oh. I thought you were like jokingly saying, did it make more than Deadpool and Wolverine?
Oh, no.
Let's get into the box office. So no, fortunately it came in first over the weekend, ending in August 18th. Yeah, and so it's here. So we were talking about this, Mitch and I, through text message. So both of us wanted this movie to do well. We both like the Alien franchise. Mitch loves the Alien franchise.
No.
As you can see by his shirt, if you're watching the video. So here's the deal. So it made 41.5 million domestically, so across the US and Canada, and 100 million worldwide opening weekend. So at a glance, that's kind of good, and that feels pretty good. But I kind of brought the room down when I said, yeah, but it ends with us opening weekend that Blake Lively, like rom-com, made 50 million.
Mm-hmm.
Alien Romulus also made less than A Quiet Place Day 1 opening weekend, also less than Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes opening weekend. So it's not great, but it's not terrible either. This is like right in the middle where I hope we get a sequel, but and it has a B+ cinema score. So it's not an A-, it's not an A. Cinema score usually denotes the legs that a movie will have. If it has an A+, that means it has extremely good word of mouth. With it being a B+, it still could do well word of mouth and have a nice hold next weekend, but it's not a sure thing. If it had an A+, we'd know that more people are coming next weekend. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it and see how it does. Some other stats about it that I wanted to mention and why it didn't make as much is 70% of Alien's audience was male. And that's really bad for business-wise. I don't care about that. But if you're the makers of this 20th century, aka Disney, you want to make it what they call a 4-quadrant film. So it fills old, young, male, female, all 4 quadrants. So for example, let's look at a women movie, or quote women's movie. It Ends With Us had something like 67% women. And
Yeah.
so even though that's only 3 percentage points different, that makes a lot. That makes up a lot.
Yeah.
Barbie, which is, female centered, made like 65%. So you really want to get down to like the 50% so that you have
Yeah.
half women. And it's surprising because it has many female leads and, hot as in popular women leads in it. So Kaylee Spaney, who we'll talk about in just a minute, she was just in Civil War. She was played Priscilla Presley. And then you have Isabel Merced, who played Dora. She was in the Transformers last movie.
Oh,
So
okay.
and then there was Elian Wu or something. We'll get to the cast list, but it had plenty
Yeah.
of women in the cast. So, ladies, get out there and see movies. We need you. Or Hollywood, make more movies that women are interested in. Which bucket is it,
Yeah.
All right, so Alien was in number 1 with 41.5. Deadpool comes in another nice hold, something like 50% or 30 or 45% to make another 25 million. It's at 550 domestic and at 1.14 billion worldwide, which is just wild. It Ends With Us had a pretty nice hold. So like I said, it made 50 million last weekend, and this weekend it made another 24, 25. So that's a really good hold. So it's almost at 100. It's at like 98.6.
Wow.
Twisters is still doing pretty well to give with another 9.8. So that their total domestic is 240. And then Coraline, the re-release of Coraline. Have you seen Coraline?
The first half, Max wasn't interested, so we turned it off. But I have, like, I'm shocked when like the amount of friends I have that love that movie.
I'm in the exact same boat. I haven't seen it. It's one of those like popular, famous, well-known anime you hear critics and other movie people talk about. And I just have an anime blind spot. I've seen a few more recently, but I don't know, man. They just don't appeal to me as much. I don't have the same excitement to go out and see some of them.
No, and the ones I've missed, it's not something I'm going to throw on unless I have the kids, which is for me a reason. It's not. I don't usually sit down to watch an animated movie.
Yeah, same. Or if it's nominated, I'll watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
What was last year? We had one that was supposedly going to get in for technical. Do you remember it?
Oh, I can't remember.
I went and saw it in theaters, and
I was just thinking about Robot Dreams last night.
Oh yeah,
from last year, and I'm glad, I'm glad I saw that because I'm still thinking about it a year later or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So both not a dry spot, a hole in our movie watching lives is anime.
Well, not me actually though. I have seen like every Pixar, most Disney.
No, I mean anime, like Japanese animation.
Oh, anime, yeah.
Yeah, I'm behind.
So last year that was Heron and the Boy.
Yes, The Boy and the Heron. Yeah. Yes, which I saw in theaters and it was good.
Me too. I liked it a lot. Actually.
It was good, but I just can't ever see me going back to see it. And when I'm talking to people about movies, I never think to bring it up. I guess I can appreciate the animation and the work that went into drawing all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, so that's our anime complaint right now. And I'd like to see more. I really would. Like I said, I feel like I'm missing out on it. So then just to close out the box office, one other thing I want to mention is Borderlands 2 dropped 76% in week 2, which you never see a movie in the 70s. Even like Batman v Superman, which had a legendary second weekend drop, that one was 69.5%. So to see a movie fall 70% in the second weekend, and listeners, that just means from the amount of people that saw it last weekend to the amount of money it made this weekend, it's a 75% drop. So this is an interesting stats that to show how bad it's doing. In its second weekend, it is behind in the list of movies at the box office than Inside Out 2, which came out 10 weeks ago. So crazy. So crazy.
And is going to be on VOD Tuesday.
Right.
So you'll be able to rent it at home. And it's still making money.
Crazy. Yeah. So its totals at like 13 million domestic. So it is just not good.
Wow.
It's just not doing well. And I didn't like the movie much. So will you eventually check that one out?
I will, because I love like those two female leads. actually the three. I like Ariana Greenblatt as well, what she's done. And so, I'll watch it at home one night when I'm bored. And I know it'll be on streaming somewhere. I heard it's going to be like on video on demand next week already.
Right. You were saying Inside Out 2 comes Tuesday.
Yeah, Inside Out 2 comes on Tuesday. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, Borderlands should be soon because it's going to with that big of a drop, a theater owner is going to say, "Well, nobody's seeing this. Let me make way for something else," and they're going to kick it out of their theater.
Well, that's what I love about Box Office Mojo. It's like, I don't know if some listeners may not know, you can go to Box Office Mojo and it'll tell you how many theaters the movie opened with. So it's usually around 4,000 for a really big movie, upwards of that, maybe around 3,000-ish, right? And so it's so interesting to see these movies that start, with a lower amount of theaters and then get more because word of mouth, like the other one. Poor Things. Like it went up, like, and then it went back to theaters, like. So movies like that, it's really interesting. And then you see this go probably from
4,000
probably down to like 2 something now, maybe.
Yeah. But, and then it'll have like 115 theaters left across all of North America. When there's 4,000 plus. So that's the box office. I guess the whole story, and to wrap this up, it's like, let's see what Alien does, Alien Romulus. I really hope it holds well. I went and saw it today for a second time, so I contributed to this week's numbers. So hopefully that'll help. And actually, I'll say that I went at 1:00 and out in the suburbs of Atlanta. It was pretty full. I went and saw it in IMAX, and it was maybe like 40% full, which 1:00 on a Monday is surprising to see.
Yeah, that
full.
is.
So so hopefully people come and check it out because we're gonna review it and you'll hear if we liked it or not. But why don't we move into that? So do you want to tell us about Alien Romulus?
Yeah, so Alien Romulus is the 7th in the Alien franchise.
So let's say not including the Predator.
That's not including AVP. So Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, thank you. Prometheus and Alien Covenant. So that's
okay. So that's 7.
7.
Wow.
6.
No, that's 7.
So we're
that's
at 7. Yeah. I was looking at my fingers like, wait, what? So this is the 7th, and then there's the 2 Alien versus Predator movies.
And I think you should mention where this one takes place.
Yes. So this one takes place 20 years after Alien.
So in between Alien and Aliens.
And that is very important to the plot. Not very important, but it is actually like really interesting for someone who's a huge Alien fan like me, to kind of see where that goes. And I don't really want to let that out of the bag right now because we are going to get into spoilers later, because I want to get into the details with you, because I don't know if you know everything, and
probably not. I'd like to hear.
I'll probably nerd out a little bit, but they did some interesting things there. Apologies. This is starring Kaylee Spaney, like you said, who plays Rain, and she was in Priscilla and Civil War just a few months ago. Yep. David Johnson, Archie Reno, Isabella Mersad, Spike Fern, and Eileen Wu, and that's the 6.
Eileen Wu. Yep.
Yeah, Eileen Wu. So that's the 6, basically the only characters. We open up there on this mind. Sorry?
Who directed it?
Oh, Fede Alvarez, thank you.
And he's the director of...
He is the director of Evil Dead and...
Don't Breathe.
Don't Breathe.
2 movies I liked a lot.
Yes, and he did...
I guess he wrote it and produced it.
Yeah.
And directed it. So he had quite a bit to do with this movie.
So he's been kind of like, it's weird. He did Evil Dead, and then he was the 2013 Evil Dead remake, which I love that movie. It is really fucked up and scary.
Yeah, and I saw it, and I think we talked about it on this podcast because I saw it somewhat recently.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably before the newest one came out.
Yes.
And then he did a TV series From Dusk Till Dawn, Don't Breathe, and then he did The Girl in the Spider's Web. So
that's right.
I haven't seen that. Is it good?
I like that. It was okay.
Yeah.
That was based on a really popular book, I think.
Yeah.
And I liked that first one. The second one wasn't so great. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was an interesting choice for them to pick him.
Hmm. At first, I thought it was the guy who did the last Evil Dead, the most
Oh,
recent Evil Dead. But I love that original Evil Dead. So I had high hopes, and
yeah. And the
it
trailers were good
opens.
for this, I think. I went back and watched them.
I think they were. I mean, I kept seeing a lot, and then, when you see in the trailer somebody gets a face hugger on them, or an alien's this close from them, right? It kind of feels like it's giving it away. Like, okay, well, that character is going to die,
Yeah.
or something, or we know something's going to happen there. So I tried to avoid the trailers, but they were good trailers, I thought, and they really made it show that this is a horror film.
Yeah.
I think this is more horror than any of them. Um, like Alien is like the scariest, like the most horror genre, but I think this one you get more scares. Like nowadays, like if someone like our age sat down and watched Alien, I don't know if they'd be as scared as they
I
would
think
if they
you're
were
right
watching
because
today.
that
I
one's
think
more
it
suspense
changes.
and
Yeah,
yeah, just
this
different because we
one's
don't see an alien in that first one until way into that
right.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So this starts off on a mining planet, and there's a girl named Rain, Kaylee Spaney, and her quote unquote brother, played by that Johnson, well,
David
David
Johnson.
David Johnson, and he is great. But we'll get
Yep.
into that. And we find out he's an android. He's got some issues. He's not like a fully functioning android, and her I think it's like her ex lover, or
Yes.
maybe they were dating, and then he has a brother, and then there's he's dating a girl, and then there's another girl. So
Yeah, we have
they're
like six characters.
yeah, and they are stuck on this mining planet where you have to like um, put in so many hours, and then you're free to go.
They're
And
like indentured servants. It's like
yeah,
slavery almost.
yeah, basic. Yeah, exactly. And that's her. Both her parents died working there, and her friend has this idea to take this spaceship up to this floating space station that has been abandoned and derelict and left for dead. Like it, and they want to go basically rob it of its cryopods,
So they can get
which
somewhere.
yeah, so that they can sail off into the blue sunset and to a better planet. And so that's the main story here.
Yeah.
So why don't you start? Because I need a drink of water.
Okay, yeah. So I really enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I went in with probably medium expectations, and I liked this one a lot. I like this better
Mm-hmm.
than Covenant,
Yeah,
maybe as much as Prometheus.
yeah,
Um, and the reason is because I think it was really effective with the scares and the tension.
mm-hmm.
Seeing it a second time today, I noticed just how tense I was through a lot of it.
Yeah,
Um, I think they could have ended it a little better.
yeah.
They could have cut off the last like 15 minutes and been okay. There's a place where you get to a place where you're like, okay, we're safe, and then there's like a oh shit, no, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think watching it, like seeing it a second time today, I think they could have cut it there. Um, but I can see why the director wanted to do what he did. If you guys remember Don't Breathe, and one of the like most
Yeah,
disturbing scenes in that movie,
turkey
there
baster.
I don't know if that's what he likes to film or whatever, but there's kind of a parallel
Mm-hmm.
ish to that scene in this movie. I thought the
But I
production.
really want to dig into that later
Okay, yeah,
when we
when we
get
talk
into
about spoilers.
Yeah.
I thought the production design was pretty fantastic too, and that I mean the old computers, the sets they were on looked like the old ships, and they have a very like tactile feel that felt real. They looked like they were on real sets, and I think it's cool to mention that this was made for 80 million,
Yeah.
which is the same budget as The Creator. So with it only
Yeah.
opening at 40 million, um, it'll probably do okay. If this had
Yeah.
ballooned to 120 or 150, then they'd have some problems. But yeah, man, I thought it was really, really pretty scary. There's a couple jump scares that didn't really bother me. Usually they do. So they didn't bother me. Um, And then the big, like, one of the biggest things for horror movies that I don't like is when characters do things that I think real people wouldn't, or they're stupid. But they didn't that I didn't really notice that in this. The characters were like kind of acted as they should have. So yeah.
Yeah, the character. See, and I've talked to some people who kind of felt the opposite, that the characters were
Dumb.
did some dumb things, but I didn't think so. I felt like every situation they got themselves in was natural. And I mean, there's a couple points where, like, I'm gonna go back, and in your mind you think, okay, well, that person would have done that. It's a heart thing, right? I got to go back and do this, or I
Yes.
can't lose.
Leave this person behind.
Yeah. And there's some really, really, yeah, like you said, there's some amazing set pieces.
Yeah.
This Alien movie, is a love song to every single Alien movie that came before it. It has a little bit of all of it here. And I think it could have reached higher heights if it didn't rely so much on fan service.
Agreed.
Like,
they quote things that from other
Yeah.
Alien movies. There's some visual elements, I'll leave it there, as from other movies, which you didn't need. But man, I'll tell you, my audience today, like, they cheered at one of the quotable lines, like,
Me too.
"Leave her alone, bitch,"
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I did
They
too.
they cheered, and I'm like, oh, come on.
I mean, there was a couple moments in the beginning where I was like, oh my god, they're doing this. Not the beginning, but, like, once the story gets going.
Yeah.
And but then, yeah, there was some. I was really tense. I was really scared. And there is a character. There is actually a seventh character that we will talk about.
Oh, okay.
That kind of comes into this, which was a surprise, and some people are a little upset how they're doing that.
Yeah, I've
How
seen
they
people
did
pretty
that.
polarized about that
It's not the
character.
best CGI. You can definitely tell. But yeah.
Yeah, I also
What
wanted to
else?
see what you thought about, before we get to spoilers. Let's talk about casting and these
Yes,
characters.
for sure.
So these are all pretty younger people in their early 20s, it looks like. And the only, like, I have a minor quibble with Kaylee Spaney. She's the lead actress in this, in that she's no Sigourney Weaver. She's very thin, small,
Yeah.
demure. And so, yeah, she did a fine job. She can emote, she can act, but she's just not a badass like Ellen Ripley was, right?
I liked her, and
Me
I've
too.
liked her in her two previous roles we've seen her in, but she wasn't a standout at all in this movie. Whereas
Yeah.
David Johnson, who played her
He was
android
fantastic.
brother, sorry, I knew you were kind of heading there,
Yeah,
but he was our standout, right? And
definitely.
she was definitely kind of a Ripley stand-in, kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
and I there's even that one shot you see in the trailer where she's this close to the alien, where where we've seen before Ripley doing the same thing.
Yes.
And
With her face turned to the side and the alien here. That's like one of
yeah,
the posters.
and
I
there's
think.
there's several moments where she's basically imitating something like Ripley did, or there's a shot once where she has her eyes closed and just, like, her lips, like, slightly parted, and it's coming down the side of her face, and I'm like, oh my god, that looks like Sigourney Weaver, like a young Sigourney.
Yeah.
And it was shot really well as well. I apologize.
Yeah.
You wanted to talk casting, and I'm
No. I think that's all I meant to say. Just to mention, David Johnson was really good. He, as the android. The androids are like the best in all these movies, because Michael Fassbender's so good in the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And Isabel Merced, I think there was just a couple moments where I thought, man, I think a character in that situation would be way more distraught. Although there's a couple scenes where she's really broken up. So overall, the cast is just fine.
Yeah.
They're just fine.
The two brothers were okay. I heard, like, some people even in my theater complaining they couldn't understand, like, what do you say? What does he say?
There's something in the water.
Yeah, because they're very British, like Old English or whatever. But
yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this, and I'm glad I got to see it a second time. I think it's one of the better ones.
To go. Yeah,
it's way better than Resurrections.
Yeah, Yeah. I would put it I'm a huge
Yeah, how would you
Prometheus
rank
fan.
them?
So I would like to put it between Aliens and Prometheus, but I think ultimately at the point I'm at right now is it's fourth
Okay.
after Prometheus.
For
But
me, it would be 3.
yeah. So
Aliens, Alien, then this one, then Prometheus.
yeah, a lot of people are kind of putting it there, except for the. Well, let's get into spoilers.
Okay.
Essentially, because a lot of people, that's what a lot of people are upset about. I'm in a lot of Alien Facebook fan groups, and it's just they're so mad about the ending. So we are getting into spoilers for Alien Romulus now. Um, so the end, that felt like a tribute to two of the Alien movies, Resurrection
Prometheus?
and Prometheus. Yeah.
Yes.
So it looked a bit like the Resurrection thing with the things on the back, but the face was more like
Oh,
the
the
Prometheus.
giant alien that she gives birth to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
The
jumping
humanoid?
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and that's kind of what I'm talking about. They could have cut.
I think something weirder should have just come out of the girl, and then Ripley, Rain could have just killed it right away. We didn't need the whole, it mimicked,
Chase.
yeah, it mimicked the end of Alien where we think she's safe, right, and then all of a sudden
Yep.
the alien's in the corner. She
And-
gets into the
and
spacesuit.
Covenant.
Oh,
At the end of Covenant, they get back on the ship and they blow her out the airlock.
shower. Yeah.
Yes, the shower
I
scene.
remember
Yes,
the shower
yes.
scene, yeah.
So yeah, but I mean so Isabel Merced gets into the sleep pod. They put her asleep. She has injected herself with some of the black goo from Prometheus and Covenant, thinking
An
that it will help
early
her.
form of, or well, I guess Prometheus is before, but like,
Right.
Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So she injects herself thinking it'll heal her. She's been injured. She's been captured by one of them, and
And she was pregnant.
they put her in the sleep pod and say like, all right, you'll be fine. This will keep you alive until we get to where we're going, and then we'll heal you. And then all of a sudden the sleep pod blinks and saying we can't put her in cryostasis. She's hurting, and she gives birth in a very bloody way to a little seed that grows into this giant humanoid alien. So for the movie, we've been seeing xenomorphs, and then we see this humanoid looking one that is just hideous.
Yeah. Yeah. And we get hints throughout the movie that they've okay. Well, let me start from the beginning.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, we see a spaceship. We don't know who's on the ship or whatever, but we see a ship going through the debris of the Nostromo from the first movie. And they find the alien that Ripley had shot out of the airlock.
Right. It's what's it encased in?
So it's actually interesting because I've read some of the canon Alien books, and in one of them they found aliens that had been there for like thousands of years, and they had like cocooned like to survive. Like that's like and they kind of used that in this movie.
Got it.
And
okay.
so basically it was its cocoon, and it was still alive, and kind of wreaked havoc on this station. The station was kind of a little nod to the video game Alien Isolation, which is one of the scariest video games I've ever played, and people want that made into a movie, but we almost kind of got it here.
Right. But you were saying they were nodding or making hints to her giving birth to an alien?
Oh no, I just meant so they use the alien from the first Alien movie, and they're taking samples of it using its blood, and they on this lab, and they've been creating face huggers.
Yeah.
And working on other stuff, injecting it into rats. At one point we see, which I thought was really cool, this, it looked like something had been given birth and there was half like rat hair on it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I thought it was good. And then we see a rat like get like chest bursted at one point. But I thought they did some cool stuff there, and that I would have liked to spend more time almost in there.
Another little nitpick I have with it is in the beginning when we're seeing Kaylee Spaney, or we're seeing Rain go to the Department of Minor Affairs, where she's going to go say, hey, I've worked enough, I need to get off this planet. She's walking with David and her android brother, and she's like having to hold him close to her because he's almost as if he's mentally disabled or like has
Yeah.
the age of a child. But then she just leaves him outside when he could have come with her
Probably just stood
inside.
beside her.
Yeah, he could have
But
just been there, or she could have just been like, when she got to the window, say, "Okay, just stand behind me." But she's like, "All right, I'll be a while. Just stay out here and don't get into trouble." And then
yeah,
you're like Stephen King style bullies come up to her and
I know.
start pushing him around, and beat him up to the point where he like restarts.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little weird.
And we get a lot of that, like with him, but like he is
He's
for
totally
me-
capable.
Yeah, he's like the most interesting character in this, and watching what he does, and then because he has this change where she takes a Wayland Utani chip and puts it into his brain.
Yes.
He becomes part of the what does he always say? For the
The co-
company.
Yeah, everything.
For
The company now has
Yes.
is his top priority.
Yes,
Prime
the
directive.
company. He always says this now, and like, so they brought back Ian Holm as Ash, but
Or
not
Rook?
really Ash,
Why were they calling him Rook?
because he wasn't really Ash. That was his name in Alien.
Oh,
It was a different robot.
Android. Gotcha.
Android.
Okay.
But obviously the androids at that time looked like Ian
right.
Holm or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know why they wouldn't have just got like Lance Henriksen. He's still alive. He who played Bishop in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could have been him, and nobody would have had a problem. Really.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem, and you think the CGI wasn't that great?
It was okay at times, and other times, like it was as good as I think we're gonna get that kind of CGI.
So the reason it worked for me is because I thought like, oh well, this guy is an android, so of course
Yeah.
his face is jerky movements and stuff.
Yeah.
I thought like that's a good enough excuse to let this work
Me
because
too.
you're right, it is a little janky
Hmm.
looking when he speaks and stuff, but I thought the use of him was pretty good in that he wasn't totally evil. He was really just
Yeah.
for the company, and we need to like. So when they were asking him questions, he wasn't evasive. He told them the answers. Like
Hmm.
they easily could have been like he could have been mysterious with his answers. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Or he could have said the thing like, "Well, just wait till you meet her." And
Right,
then,
yeah.
like I hate when movies do that. So
Yeah, it was more him than it was Mother in this, and whereas like we've had ones where it's more Mother, and that has also kind of happened in a book as well. So I feel like where Ash was the big bad and had control of the ship, kind of
in Alien.
in one of the books I read.
Oh, okay.
That is apparently canon to the franchise, but yeah, I just this like all of the stuff in the room with the water and they're dropping, that was so tense, and they're like swimming and jumping on faces and they're actually ripping them off. I'm like,
yes, I like that they
because-
were able to defeat
me
them
too.
sometimes.
they were like winning. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
they're kind of winning.
Yep.
Against these face huggers. And
I like them. I like the clever use of turning off the gravity generator so when they kill them, their
Acid.
blood acid doesn't just fall through and create decompression.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was some thought put into each scene. It felt like
That's why I just don't. I am personally like the ending doesn't like if I have issues with the ending and a couple other little things, but overall I had a really great time.
good.
So
Me
it's
too.
like if those, I don't understand people who are like, well, as soon as I saw that thing, the movie was garbage. And I'm like, well,
yes, a lot of people said that. I heard someone say that too.
But anyways, let us know what you think. I know my friend Bruce Perky, he saw it. He didn't like it. There's a couple in the group that really loved it. So I think it's just all over the board. So that's why I'm hoping it has legs,
I do too.
Like,
and so it has a 3.7 on Letterboxd, which is pretty good.
yeah.
I'm going to be giving it 4 stars out of 5. What about you?
I have it at 4. But see, Prometheus has grown on me over time. Covenant has grown on me over time. I could see this being a 4.5 for me. I'd like to see it again. Hopefully drive 45 minutes and see it in IMAX, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And I got my popcorn bucket.
Oh, right. Yeah, you got the memorabilia for it.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and I got a couple things I'll send you eventually. The Wayland Corporation pin and or the pin and then sticker.
That's so cool. Thank you. I
Yeah,
will
of
pay you
course.
for the shipping.
Oh,
For sure.
yeah, okay, that's fine. You can pay for the shipping, I guess. But yeah, so that's Alien Romulus. I would say go see it. If you have ever liked an Alien movie, I'd say
Yeah.
this is totally worth seeing.
I'm sorry, we've been talking about it for a while. I know people are probably like, go on, get on with it. But I didn't hate the lines. The one that David said was, or Andy said, the android, get away from her, and then
Her,
she
you
like
bitch.
stumbles like, you bitch. It almost felt like he'd heard it before from Ripley, and like he's copying her, but like he never could have heard it from
Yeah,
Ripley.
yeah, right. It
So it
felt
didn't make
very
yeah.
fan service, and that's where I was saying my crowd was like, "Woo, go!" And I'm like, "Oh, come on."
We we all
if he had
laughed
said
actually.
it if he had said it earlier in the movie, or he heard someone else earlier in the movie say it, but like, and he
Right.
paused between "you bitch" and kind of not looked at the camera, but like turned his head. It was very, very fan service moment, and so that stuff just either works for you or it doesn't.
And he jumped on that alien, and there was no blood. Like I don't know. I don't know how he didn't get
so he
hurt,
jumps
but-
on and is shooting it in the head.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Then he's going down.
As he's
There
going
was
down. But you're right. That probably should have had some splatter on him.
Yeah, there was a lot less splatter, except for that one guy who was killed all by splatter.
Yeah, yeah.
That was actually pretty cool. This
Yep.
is Fede Alvarez definitely gives us the same horror, like similar to what he gave us in 2013's Evil Dead. Like he goes
Oh
hard.
yeah, yeah. It's
so
pretty bloody and
yeah,
it's good. It's real gory. I liked it.
yeah. So why don't you tell us? Do you want to tell us a little bit about Caligula?
Yeah,
or-
yeah. So we can do this pretty quickly because we don't need to give this a full review. So
yeah,
people listening, well, anyone listening that's older than 40 has probably heard of this movie because this is a cult classic movie for sure. It's called
want me to-
Caligula. What'd you say?
Do you want me to tell like the little history, or do you want to do? like-
I'll try, and then you can fill
Okay.
in the gaps if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
missed
yeah.
anything.
No, because I just was reading it like crazy last night. It was
Yeah,
really
well, and it
interesting.
caused me to read about it too. So it
Yeah.
came out in 1979. The original came out in 1979. It was boycotted in places in Texas because of its graphic depictions of sex and all kind of immoral things. It's one of the first movies to receive an X rating, which has now been changed to NC-17 in the United States. It has the names you'd recognize. It has Malcolm McDowell, Helen Mirren, and Peter O'Toole. And you'll know Peter O'Toole. He was the main character for Clockwork Orange, which I didn't realize until afterward.
No, Malcolm McDowell was.
Oh, sorry, Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah,
yeah. Peter
yeah.
O'Toole's the older guy in this.
But Peter O'Toole is like, I'll look him up. I can't remember what movie it is now.
Yeah, I just know that name. So, and then there's
Yeah.
a whole bunch of other names. Nobody else I really recognize, but the story behind this is cool. So this is the ultimate cut. It was boycotted, banned in the UK. It was originally written by Gore Vidal, who is a well-known poet, political writer. Your parents would know who Gore Vidal is. He
Yeah.
eventually took his name off this, as did a whole bunch of people. This was produced by the inventor of Penthouse magazine, the
Yeah.
pornographic magazine. And you can see it when you watch this. And what I had heard about this movie, it was directed by Tinto Brass. But what I had heard about this movie before going in was that it was one of those dare you to watch it. Can you can you watch the whole thing? Kind of like Solo or Martyrs or Incendies, or not Incendies.
Yeah.
Those like or Saw or Human Centipede, like the
Right.
really graphic movies that like, do
You
you
hear
dare watch
about-
the whole thing? Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, oh, I gotta see it now.
Right,
I'm a movie
right,
lover.
right.
If I don't
And that's
see it,
kind of what drew me in, especially because it was showing in a theater. And the theater I saw it in had 40 to 50 people, lots of them wearing toga outfits.
shut up, really?
Yeah, so they were like going to see it, and which made it a little better because the crowd was entertaining. They were laughing
Yeah.
at the uncomfortable parts. So the movie is a depiction of what we know about the ruler Caesar Caligula. What's his first name? Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I think it was Caesar. They kept calling him Caesar in this movie at points.
Well, his dad was Julius Caesar.
Yeah,
or
his dad was Julius.
grandpa,
Yeah, yeah.
I think.
But the plot loosely is this: the death of paranoid Emperor Tiberius Caligula, the Emperor Tiberius. Caligula, who is his heir by a couple generations down, because all the people under him had gotten murdered.
Yeah.
he seizes power and plunges the empire into a bloody spiral of madness and depravity.
Mhm.
I'm adding emphasis on depravity.
Yeah.
This takes place in like 80 AD, so this is like 2,000 years ago.
Mhm.
But a lot of this is true or true-ish. The reading I was doing about it says they may have embellished these stories to ruin his legacy even more because they didn't like him. But I guess as like a review to this movie, I'm glad I've seen it, but there's no way I would watch this again. I talk on here and
No.
joke a lot. I usually appreciate and like seeing nudity in movie because sex is part of life and it
It's
should be
real
shown on
life.
screen. I have a whole
Yeah.
soapbox about that. Um, but this takes it too far. There's nudity in almost every scene, and like pornographic nudity. There's people screwing in every scene, and and then more like and
Yeah.
it's just weird to watch something like this in a theater with other people. I mean, you feel like you're watching pornography almost, but
Yeah.
I do find the story interesting, in that this is a historical epic,
Yeah.
and the acting is pretty great here. The guy Malcolm McDowell playing
Yeah. He's
Caligula
great.
is just a madman in this movie. And toward the end of it, I'm just like, come on, show me the downfall. This guy has to go down, and it needs to be brutal because he is just an. I think the point of the movie is to show that how badly absolute power corrupts people.
Yeah.
Because he kind of seems to get bored, so he starts making people do horrible things. Paranoid because he's done these horrible things. Now he thinks everyone's coming for him. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. What else did you read?
Well, the one thing I was going to say, the reason they all took their names off it is because the owner of Penthouse apparently, and so this is the version you didn't see, and the reason why
Yes.
it was like 32% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then this uncut version is now like 80%, that version.
Interesting.
But because he took the movie and then spliced in porn in like
I did hear that.
yeah, so he actually spliced in like full like pornographic, that didn't even fit with the movie, and it was like, but
Wait, so it wasn't of people in the movie?
no, I no, it wasn't.
Oh, that's
Apparently, it was
ridiculous.
like spliced in pornographic, and I don't know if it was like supposed to be like because I watched the first 45 minutes, and I don't know if it was supposed to be like in that whole set piece, like right where there's all the people having sex on the different levels.
Yeah, on the different levels. Yeah.
And Julius Caesar's walking around, Peter O'Toole, Lawrence of Arabia. That's the one.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Gotcha. So that's what made everyone disavow it.
yeah, so like Malcolm McDowell, like everybody walked away. The people, it was first shown in Rome,
Yes.
and then the police came and took the tapes, and then and he was trying to get it shown in the United States, in like private theaters, so he didn't have to put the MPAA rating on it.
Yep.
Like because he didn't want an X rating, because he said he just put on it for mature audiences only and wouldn't let anyone under 18 in. But then he got that X rating, and it's been banned in multiple countries and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and I heard this from Mark Kermode. Do you know that critic? He's a British.
Yeah,
From
I know his
BBC.
name.
If you look up Caligula in his review, he reviewed this recent cut, and I watched it. He said that the first time it came to the UK, it had a police escort. So the tapes or the reels land, and the police have to follow it to go show at a festival because back then it violated England's obscenity rules. Back when video nasties were a thing.
Right.
So it was followed by police to get to a private residence in order. So that just gives the movie more lore and fanfare.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's an interesting historical. I mean, like it's interesting because nothing like this would ever get made or seen today in the way that it did back then.
Mhm.
Like, sure, someone would make a pornographic film today, but it would never be the topic of conversation. Police wouldn't care about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, since culture is so much more splintered these days, but back then, if I mean, even now, if a weird film like the movie Raw that debuted, or Titan, Those are some pretty.
Even like Coffee Table has gotten like it got some buzz, right? Because it was a little fucked up, and but
Yeah.
no one cares really
Yeah,
anymore.
no one
Like
cares. Like it's I'd love to learn more about why, but it's like people can make as brutal or as sexy of a movie, and
yeah,
people are like, okay, or I'm just not going to see it. Like we
yeah,
had such a monoculture back in 1979 that this was such a big deal.
yeah.
And of course, anyone who was young or rebellious wanted to see what this crazy movie is, and so
Malcolm
yeah,
McDowell, he said he was excited when he heard this cut was coming out because he said it's one of my greatest performances and I want it to be seen.
good.
And
Yeah, he
watching the
does a
first
great
40,
job.
yeah, his eyes, you can just see it
Yeah,
in his eyes, like everything. And
and I mean,
Peter O'Toole was good. He's I don't know if Julius Caesar was actually like this or not. I don't know his story really, but he was a dick. But
yeah,
anyways,
really.
I hated him.
And I want to say too, seeing Helen Mirren, you haven't gotten to her yet.
No.
Just like I almost wasn't sure it was her because of just how young she was, right? This is
Right.
40, 50 years ago. She's so young in this, and it's just I'm used to her being like a
Yeah,
prim and
grandmother.
proper, amazing British
Yeah,
actress.
British,
Yeah, uptight,
Yeah.
queen. She plays lots of like
Yeah.
elevated people roles. So to see her play this like prop wife that's just there to give him a son and
Yeah.
stuff, and so yeah, I don't know if I would recommend it. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars because just of
Yeah.
I like put it on the side of positive review just because of how crazy it is, but I can't see me watching this ever again unless someone I was with had heard of it and wanted to see it bad enough. I don't know. And
Yeah.
I hope you finish it or get through
I
most of
will.
it.
Actually, you know what? I'm really interested. The set pieces, like I'm really kind of interested to see where it goes. Like
The sets are incredible.
the sets are
They really put money
yeah,
into these
like
sets
yeah.
and
Like
costumes. Yeah.
the elevator when he comes down the one side and then so Caligula has to like run down. I was like, wow,
Yeah. There's
this is crazy.
a lot more of that too.
But some of the nudity, yeah, like even and I'm like looking at these people, I'm like, they look young, some of these people and
Yeah.
some of these boys, and I'm like, this is old Hollywood. I'm like,
Yeah, I know. I
you
just
know,
I can't even imagine what it like all
I'm so anyways, um
but it is, I will say this, there are black, white, young, old, like it's
yeah,
got
I was
everybody.
really surprised to see
I was
like
too.
the girl following him around for the
Yeah.
first
Young
is a black woman.
girl.
So I watched a little movie called The Beast Within. I'm just gonna bring it
Yeah.
up quickly.
Yeah.
It's got Kit Harington who plays Jon Snow
Oh, I like him a
in
lot.
Game of Thrones, and then it also has James Cosmo who was in Game of Thrones. He played someone on the wall. That he was like working with Jon Snow. So it's interesting to see them together. So he's his father-in-law, and his father-in-law lives on the property, and essentially you find out from the very beginning that like Jon Snow's a werewolf,
Okay.
and once a month they have to take him and bring him down and lock him in a thing, and there's all this
For him to not kill the people?
Yeah, so he doesn't kill his mom, father-in-law,
Okay.
and 10-year-old daughter. It's all revolved around the 10-year-old daughter. She doesn't like him at all, and you don't understand why until like at the end, and like later. This movie is very weird. It's not bad. It didn't keep my interest until like things started to happen, and like werewolf stuff started happening, and it's practical effects, which was really kind of interesting. And but yeah, I gave it 2 stars. I can't recommend it. There is a twist that I thought could have been done better. Like this is a movie from a director and a writer who I think have good things to come. Like this could have been good. I think they just fumbled at the foul line, or however you say that. I don't do sports, but
at the goal line.
fumbled there. So yeah,
Okay,
But
and it looks like it's only an hour and a half, right?
yeah, it was quick. That's why I threw it on. I didn't have a bad time, but it just once you get to that like twist or whatever, you're kind of like, wait, what? So what does that mean for the whole
Okay.
movie then? But I'll
Um,
text it to you later.
and it looks like it's on Prime Video.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
cool. And is that little girl in anything?
She was really good, but the mother Ashley Cummings
Ashley
was
Cummings.
really good. She was really, really, really good, and she was in the TV show Nosferatu.
Oh, okay.
So I think people
That little
might
girl
know
was
her.
in something that came out. I think I saw this year called Stop Motion.
You know what? You're right. Yes,
You need to see
that's what
that. Or you
I've
saw
seen
it?
it. I've
Oh,
seen
okay.
it. Yeah, I knew I recognized. I thought I recognized her, but then I was like, no, and I didn't even look it up.
Yeah, seeing her face, I'm like, why does she look so? She played a pretty abrasive little character
She
in
was, yeah.
Stop Motion. So
That was another
interesting.
movie
Okay.
with a kind of a
Yeah,
twist. But
that was a crazy movie. Did we
yeah,
review that?
yeah, we did. I
Okay,
think
okay.
so. Well, if we haven't, it's one we'd recommend over Caligula. I
Definitely.
think.
That's a wild movie. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So that's The Beast Within. It's 2024 and you can see it on Prime.
Yeah, why don't you tell us about skincare
Okay.
in
Yeah. So for the
theaters
last
now?
movie, what's the last part you just said?
In theaters now.
Yeah. So skincare, man, it was a limited release. It might even be gone already. Skincare, I think it was only in like 1,000 theaters. But so this is Elizabeth Banks, Lewis Pullman, who is
Oh, I like him.
yeah, he's the son of Dennis Pullman. No,
No, it was Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman, yeah,
Yeah.
son of Bill Pullman. He's been good in a few things. Luis Gerardo, Nathan Fillion is in this, and that's about it. You have a couple other small characters here, but this is based on a true story, and it's set in Hollywood, LA, in current times. There's a woman who is a facialist to the stars, so she is like the woman that does makeup and facials for every hot and cool celebrity in LA. Another skincare person moves into a building kind of right across the street from her. She sees that as a threat, obviously, and then all these things start happening to her that someone is trying to destroy her.
Hmm.
Someone hacked her email and sent an email to all her contact books, friends, and family saying, "Oh, I'm horny. I need a man." Like all this
Geez.
nasty stuff. Someone post Craigslist post saying, "I want someone to surprise me at work with sexual assault. That's my fantasy." So
Oh my God.
yeah, it's really, really horrible. Her tires
That's
get
awful.
popped. And all these other bad things start to happen. So she is like having a nervous breakdown. She's launching her own skincare line like in 2 weeks. So she's trying to get as much positive press and media that she can. And all this stuff is going bad around her. So yeah, so that's kind of the plot there. And this movie is, I liked this movie a lot, but I think it could have gotten a little like another rewrite on its script could have made it a little tighter, a little more suspenseful.
Yeah.
But it's only like an hour and a half. And Elizabeth Banks does a really good job here. So does Lewis Pullman. He's one of the main characters.
She can act.
So
She-
yeah, he can. He's been great.
Oh,
So,
I said she, but yeah,
oh
he can
well,
as well.
he can too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought he was excellent in the El Royale Hotel. Bad Times at the El Royale. He played like a heroin addict that was just so sad. And then he was in Battle of the Sexes as well, which was a Emma Stone movie that was about tennis. That was good. But yeah, so that's it. It's more of like a suspense thriller, but it's definitely R-rated. There's some explicit scenes in it. But it's very like if you like grungy Hollywood movies like The Neon Demon or what's the Jake Gyllenhaal Nightcrawler? If you like movies like that, I think you'd like this one because it's like the underbelly of LA, the bad side of how people can be when they're social climbers trying to climb to the top.
Yeah.
So that's skincare. Definitely worth streaming, not worth seeing in the theater, I would say. I rated it 3.5 stars just because it was pretty damn good and enjoyable.
Kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't know about this movie 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of this movie? I just saw the trailer for it, I think ahead of Alien, The Substance with Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley.
No.
dude, this looks fucking good. I think it's yeah.
I did see this before the trailer of Alien. Yes.
Yeah, I think it looks interesting. And Margaret Qualley, I didn't even know it was her at first, because she's trying to play like a young Demi Moore, I think, in the trailer.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks really good, I think. So it's September 20th.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah.
When does it come out?
September 20th.
Okay.
So,
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so that we can wrap it up. I
Yeah.
was just going to mention that coming to theaters this week, I'm working the movie The Crow. That's the reboot. Do you have any attachment to the original?
I've never seen it, but I'm gonna watch it before I watch.
I know it
the
has
new
its
one.
fans. Like I know my
Yeah.
sister
for
loves
sure.
The Crow, the original.
Like especially because he died. Brandon.
Brandon Lee died on the set. Yeah.
And then I remember a lot of kind of, I'm not making fun, but a lot of goth girls.
I was just gonna say this was an emo kid movie.
Yeah,
for
emo.
sure.
I remember them. It was all about the crow and stuff.
Yeah, because it had some style to it,
Yeah,
It had some.
you've seen it? Sorry, you did.
No, I also haven't seen it. I just, of course,
Yeah.
know of it. I've,
course.
seen clips, pictures, but yeah,
It's
he was definitely a
infamous.
sex symbol. From this movie for sure.
Yeah.
So that's coming out. I'm gonna work that. I have no idea how well it's gonna do. I have no idea. It could do
Me neither.
it could do like Borderlands, like maybe better than Borderlands numbers, like 10 million, or it could do 30 if people. Maybe not that much. But so that's The Crow. Then also this really cool, interesting looking movie comes out. So check this out. It's called Blink Twice. It has Channing Tatum in it, but guess who's directed this? Zoe
Who?
Kravitz.
Oh, really?
This is her directorial debut. Yeah. So this is Channing Tatum playing a kind of a creeper. So this is the plot. When a tech billionaire meets cocktail waitress at his at a fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and friends on a dream vacation on a private island. Strange things start to happen, and Frida, the girl in it, questions her reality. So the trailer looks interesting enough. This could be good. I think it's horror. I'm pretty sure I would call this horror or thriller. And then we also have, so there's 4 movies coming out this weekend. Strange Darling. This just looks interesting. It's a 2023 movie, so I think it was at one of the festivals, and it's finally getting its release. Giovanni Ribisi, Ed Begley Jr. Twisted One Night Stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious dream. So that looks cool. And then the last one that comes out this weekend, it's called Between the Temples. This is Jason Schwartzman. And this one's more of a drama. It looks like a grade school teacher re-enters his life as a new adult student. So yeah, that one we'll see, but I like Jason Schwartzman. So,
and you're gonna see The Deliverance this weekend.
I'm gonna see that tonight.
Tonight, right? So it's a Netflix movie that will be on Netflix August 30th. So, like 10 days from now.
Yeah, and who was in that? Read the Glenn Close.
Yeah,
Glenn Close, Andra Day, Monique.
Yeah,
I think.
And that's about it.
And Ingenue Ellis, yeah.
Ingenue Ellis. Omar Epps.
She was
Octavia Spencer.
Oh yeah. She was King Richard. She was one of the daughters in King. She played she played Serena Williams as
Yeah, I know these faces actually, a lot of these. Tasha Smith, I know.
And she was in one of my favorite movies of all time, Ray, from 2004.
Really?
I love that Ray Charles movie, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie. I remember exactly. That was actually kind of one of the movies because it came out at a time where I was getting into film kind of like that.
I would say that was one of the first movies that really got me into like, oh man, I love movies.
Yeah, because it was like a biopic. The music was good. We were watching an actor at his best, and for me, it just kind of fit all those boxes.
Same. That's cool. That's cool that we both have that about that movie.
Yeah. But.
So next week that I will be talking about most of those movies we just mentioned, and we'll be back next week.
We will. All right, guys, everyone, thank you for listening and following and watching us on YouTube. We will talk to you all later.
Thanks, guys.
Peace. I have to do
roll the outro.
Thank you for listening to the Hollywood Persona podcast. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at The Hollywood Persona. Feel free to email the show at thehollywoodpersona@gmail.com and make sure to rate, Share and follow on whatever platform you're listening to our show on. It's the little things that help. Thank you.
And you little shithead. You're staying here.
Newt.
Newt.
Isn't she talking to Newt?
She's talking to Jones, the cat.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.